In a world that often feels like it's just accelerating information flooding in, it's easy to feel a bit overwhelmed, right?
Absolutely. So much noise.
Exactly. But underneath all that, there are these powerful, um, interconnected forces really reshaping our global landscape. And today, that's what we're doing. Taking a deep dive into exactly that. Looking at the pivotal role of advanced tech, especially artificial intelligence, data and driving and, well, responding to these major global shifts. We'll explore how areas that seem separate, like defense, energy, business, are actually deeply intertwined through technology. And all of this is happening against this backdrop of complex geopolitics and economic reality.
Yeah, it's all connected.
For this deep dive, we've pulled together quite a stack of sources, cutting-edge industry outlooks, think Deloitte, on clean energy,
Right.
critical military intelligence reports, forecast international, global economic forecasts from the World Bank.
Some heavy hitters there.
Definitely.
Sure.
And business tech analyses, Meetings International magazine, plus some crucial cyber intelligence from CY Firma.
A good mix.
Our mission today, basically, to be your shortcut to understanding these critical interwoven trends. We want to pull out the most important bits, the surprising facts, so you can really grasp the bigger picture.
Just those aha moments.
Exactly. Get those aha moments without getting totally bogged down. Okay, let's jump right in. We're seeing this really interesting confluence of global forces right now. On one hand, a clear surge in defense spending. What's really driving that? And what does it signify for the global landscape?
Well, the insight here isn't just the sheer scale, though that's huge. It's the why. Global defense spending jumped, get this, 8.1% in 2024.
8%. Wow.
Yeah, reaching an unprecedented $2.3 trillion. And this isn't just some incremental creep. It's a direct reaction, a pivot to a rapidly changing security picture. Our sources highlight three main drivers. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, now in its third year, which is spurring massive military modernization across Europe.
Right, you see that everywhere.
The volatility in the Middle East following the October 7th Hamas attacks and Israel's operations. And, of course, rising tensions in Asia, particularly China, the U.S., neighbors over Taiwan and the South China Sea.
So it feels like a global rearmament.
Yeah.
Driven by very specific, very current conflicts. And I'm seeing a big shift in what militaries are actually buying. It's moved beyond counterinsurgency, hasn't it?
Oh, completely. You're absolutely right. The focus has decisively shifted. Procurement priorities now, heavily weighted towards things like artillery systems and ammunition, main battle tanks, armored vehicles.
The big stuff.
The big stuff.
Yeah.
Air defense missiles, drones are huge, and survivability upgrades hardening systems against advanced threats, electronic warfare. And the spending is concentrated. The top 20 spenders, they account for over 82% of the global total in 2024. That's nearly $1.9 trillion.
Incredible concentration.
Yeah, and countries like Poland, the Netherlands, Israel, they saw some of the fastest budget growth driven by these immediate security worries. Regionally, North America, led by the U.S., is still the biggest spender. Massive investments in shipbuilding, missile defense, next-gen systems. Asia, driven largely by China, is about 22%. Europe's at 17%, but its share is steadily climbing.
Okay, so huge spending, specific drivers. But this surge, it doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? How does this connect to the broader economic picture? Because the World Bank seems to be painting a pretty tough outlook.
That's the fascinating paradox, isn't it? This defense surge forces us to look at the global economic backdrop. Large military investments often reflect, or sometimes even worsen, broader economic pressures. And you're right, the World Bank's insights, they paint a really challenging picture for global growth.
So is there a risk here that this massive defense spending, instead of maybe stimulating growth, actually strains economies that are already struggling, diverting resources?
That is precisely the concern. And what this really boils down to, for you, for everyone listening, is a world facing historically sluggish growth. Global growth is expected to weaken to just 2.3% in 2025.
Only 2.3%.
Yeah, with just a tepid recovery after that. We're looking at average GDP growth in the 2020s of maybe 2.5%. That's the slowest pace for any decade since the 1960s.
Since the 60s, wow.
And the downside risks, they're plentiful. Escalating trade restrictions, persistent policy uncertainty, weaker growth in major economies, worsening conflicts, which ironically loops right back to that defense spending and extreme weather. For emerging markets, developing economies, this weak outlook really limits their ability to create jobs, reduce poverty, and that's compounded by lower foreign direct investment.
So which regions are feeling this most?
Well, regions like East Asia, the Pacific, Europe, Central Asia, highly reliant on global trade. They're projected to slow down significantly. Latin America, and the Caribbean. Forecast for the lowest growth among emerging regions, partly due to trade barriers, structural issues, and commodity exporters, Middle East, North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, they're feeling the weight of weakening demand for their resources.
Okay, so the economic picture looks pretty challenging, maybe even grim in places. Yet somehow the clean energy sector seems to be bucking the trend. Incredible momentum there. What's the story from Deloitte? Is demand really outpacing supply?
It absolutely is. That's the core story. The momentum for clean energy is set to continue right into 2025. Renewables are literally in a race to fill a resource gap because demand is currently outpacing supply. And what's really striking is where this demand is coming from. It's multi-pronged.
A race to fill a gap. That's a strong image. So what's creating this huge appetite? Is it just general green sentiment or something more specific, more structural?
Oh, it's very structural, and it links directly back to technology, actually. On the demand side, you've got clean tech manufacturing plants. They could add maybe 11 gigawatts of demand by 2030, partly due to reshoring supply chains.
Okay, reshoring.
But here's the real game changer. Data centers,
Hmm.
especially those powering generative AI.
AI again.
Exactly. They could drive something like 44 gigawatts of additional demand by 2030. That's a huge leap from maybe 2633 GW now, potentially up to 6080 GW by 2030.
44 gigawatts just from AI data centers. That's staggering.
It really is. And even things like direct air capture plants, DAC, the ones pulling carbon from the air, might add another 2.7 GW. Add it all up, you're looking at over 57 GW of new demand by 2030. Supply is struggling to keep pace.
Wow. Okay, so AI and reshoring are fueling this massive hunger for clean energy. It's less an environmental choice, more an economic and strategic necessity, it sounds like. So how are renewables actually meeting this challenge on the supply side? What are the advantages? Any particular innovations?
Absolutely. Well, first, record investment, public and private, combined with this demand, really set the stage for growth in 2024. Utility scales, solar and wind, they accounted for nearly 90% of all new capacity additions in the first 9 months of 2024.
90%. That's up hugely from before, right?
Way up from 57% the year before. Solar capacity jumped 88% to 18.6 GW in 2024 alone, surpassing hydro and nuclear as the fourth largest source of installed capacity. Wind additions fell slightly, supply chain issues, financing hurdles, but wind generation hit a new record. It actually outpaced coal for 2 months.
Interesting.
And battery storage, that's the other big piece. Second largest share of additions, up 64% to 7.4 GW. Residential solar attachment rates for batteries are jumping too, expected to go from 14% to 25% in 2024.
So storage is key to making renewables reliable.
Crucial. And renewables themselves have inherent advantages. They're mature technologies, relatively low cost, highly modular, you can scale them up. Plus, the industries we just talked about, clean tech manufacturing, AI, carbon markets, they're actually helping renewables overcome constraints, reshored plants, reshape supply chains for panels and batteries. AI optimizes those chains, accelerates innovation, selling carbon attributes. That can be another revenue stream.
And what about innovation for, say, 247 power? That's always been the challenge.
Right. There's a huge push there, accelerated by policy. Deloitte's surveys suggest advanced nuclear might play the biggest role.
Nuclear, okay.
Followed by green hydrogen, long-duration energy storage, LDES, and advanced solar cells. We're seeing real projects. DOE's hydrogen hubs, LDES using wastewater for hydrogen, iron-air batteries for offshore wind, and even advanced solar cells are evolving things like agrivoltaics, combining solar and farming.
Right, panels over crops.
Exactly. And enhanced geothermal systems, EGS, tapping deep earth heat. They're maturing fast for providing reliable baseload power.
This sounds incredibly dynamic. But the people side, the workforce, can we actually build all this out? Do we have the skilled labor?
That's a critical question, absolutely. Clean energy jobs. They accounted for over half of all energy jobs created in 2023, growing at twice the rate of the overall economy.
Twice the rate.
Yeah. Solar's about 2/3 of those jobs, wind maybe a fifth. But there are real challenges. Securing a larger workforce, developing the digital skills, the project development skills needed. So for organizations listening, for you, the takeaway is the need for integrated workforce strategies, cultivating talent externally, training internally. It's vital.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit, but staying with tech. We mentioned AI driving energy demand, optimizing supply chains, but it's also playing a huge role in that defense spending surge we started with, right? How is AI being used on the digital front lines?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just a tool anymore. It's an active participant,
Yeah.
making split-second decisions, coordinating drone swarms. AI is fundamentally reshaping warfare in 2025. Look at Ukraine. Their military intelligence is using an AI tool, ODCR Assistant, basically an AI open-source intelligence analyst.
Like an AI spy?
Sort of. It scours thousands of Russian online sources, social media, you name it, for clues, filters them, classifies them. It's incredibly powerful. And the U.S. military, accelerating AI adoption for threat detection, targeting, decision-making, especially where communications are jammed or contested.
Exists.
They're testing AI-driven command and control systems, fusing sensor data, automating battlefield responses. And this idea of multi-domain integration, blending land, sea, air, cyber, space, AI, is key to synchronizing all that complexity.
So AI is being weaponized for intelligence, for operations. But that digital front line, it extends way beyond military conflicts, doesn't it? What about the broader cyber threat landscape, especially with everyone relying so much more on digital systems?
It absolutely does. And what's striking is the sheer volume and, maybe more importantly, the sophistication of cyber threats now. These are directly linked to geopolitical tensions and our digital dependency. Take ransomware. It's just exploding, not just in volume, but in tactics. We're seeing multi-extortion, where they don't just lock your data, they steal it and threaten to leak it, too.
Oh, whammy.
Exactly. New threats like Kick targeting Windows, using psychological tricks in the ransom notes, or Quilin ransomware. It hits Windows, Linux, even VMware systems. It hit a manufacturer in Thailand, exposed over 111 gigabytes of sensitive data.
Oof. It sounds like ransomware is becoming incredibly advanced and targeted. What about other malware? Are there specific groups we should know about?
Yeah, there's trending malware like Castle Loader. It's a loader distributes info-stealing malware, remote control tools, uses tricky phishing, mimicking Cloudflare, GitHub.
It's offensive.
Very multi-stage downloads its own control panel for attackers. Then there are the actors themselves. Emissary Panda, also called Bronze Union, a China-linked cyber espionage group active for over a decade.
Espionage, not just crime.
Primarily espionage, suspected links to the PLA. They target trade secrets, intellectual property, sensitive info, often use the HTTP browser backdoor, a sneaky way to maintain access on Microsoft Exchange servers. Their targets often align with China's strategic goals, like Made in China 2025.
That's chillingly organized. And you mentioned the link to geopolitics. Are we seeing direct cyber warfare tied to conflicts?
Definitely. A major example recently, Russia's airline, Aeroflot, attacked by a pro-Ukrainian group, Silent Crow, and a Belarusian group, Cyber Partisans, caused flight cancellations, data theft. It clearly shows Ukraine's strategy of making the war felt directly inside Russia.
Wow. Direct impact.
And vulnerabilities keep emerging. There's one in Drupal popular web software CVE 2025-7717, lets attackers bypass security, access private files, plus ongoing attacks. Direwolf ransomware hitting an industrial machinery company in Singapore, leaking 650 gigabytes of data. Threat actors selling admin access to banks, logistics firms in Indonesia, Vietnam on the dark web. It's global, multi-sector.
Okay, so data is everywhere, fueling growth, fueling energy demand, but also creating massive vulnerabilities and enabling sophisticated threats. How are businesses supposed to adapt? Business intelligence, BI, sounds more critical than ever, not just for growth, but for basic defense, rather.
It absolutely is. The BI market is booming, expected to hit $33.5 billion by 2025. And future BI, it's becoming more automated, easier to use, more insightful, specifically designed for handling massive amounts of data, big data. It's less about just crunching numbers now, more like BI is becoming the GPS for your business, a vital navigation tool in this complexity.
GPS for your business. I like that. So what are the key trends making this happen? Is this tech really getting into the hands of everyone in a business, or is it still mainly for analysts?
Several key trends are pushing it towards wider use. First, data governance is huge, making sure data is good quality, used properly, accessed securely, deleted when needed, essential for privacy.
Foundational stuff.
Absolutely. Then there's self-service BI, software getting easier for non-tech people to use, empowering more employees. Prescriptive analytics is growing, turning forecasts into actual actionable steps for strategy. Natural language processing, NLP, is spreading, letting people ask questions in plain English to get insights. BI as a service is exploding, companies hiring expert consultants.
Makes sense if you don't have in-house experts.
Exactly. Solutions are also getting more collaborative and integrative, working smoothly with other business systems. And finally, automation and augmented analytics using AI to do the heavy lifting. Process data, prep insights, simplify reporting.
So making data easier to access, easier to understand, and turning it into action. What are the real-world benefits businesses are seeing? Does this actually boost the bottom line? And can smaller businesses really play?
The benefits are significant, yeah. Increased productivity, identifying what works and what doesn't faster. Instant access to key info for quicker analysis, clearer reports. A definite increase in ROI, finding cost savings, improving accountability, making smarter supply chain choices, better strategic decisions from faster, deeper insights, identifying opportunities earlier, reducing waste. Top platforms like Microsoft Power BI, great integration, obviously, or Tableau, known for its visualization, they're leading this, offering intuitive dashboards, guided analysis, real-time data.
And smaller businesses.
While big companies led, the rise of self-service BI and BI as a service means these powerful tools are becoming more accessible for small and medium businesses, too. The barrier to entry is lowering.
It sounds like BI isn't just a tool anymore. It's fundamentally changing how companies operate, maybe even their culture.
That's the ultimate impact. Profound. We're seeing more integration between systems, more collaboration between people working with data. The tech infrastructure expands, machine learning becomes standard, data becomes proactive, users get relevant prompts, insights pushed to them. It fosters this widespread data-driven culture where ideally every employee is using BI in their daily work, empowering informed decisions at all levels.
Right.
So let's pull all these threads together. What we're fundamentally seeing is that AI and data, they aren't just isolated technologies. They are these basic forces reshaping everything: global security, how we power our homes, how we run our businesses. And for you listening, this really raises a critical question. How can you best navigate this increasingly complex, interconnected world?
Yeah, that's the core question.
Think about it. The global stage, defined by rising geopolitical tensions, a slowing economy, which, paradoxically, fuels massive defense spending and underscores this urgent need for resilience. At the same time, this huge energy transition is happening, driven by exponential demand from sectors like clean tech manufacturing and data centers, which themselves are powered and optimized by AI. But this digital transformation, it has a dark side. Cyber warfare, sophisticated threats, they're now integral parts of global conflict, targeting everything from airlines to factories to banks.
It connects all the way back.
Exactly. The common thread through all of this: data and AI. From Ukraine using AI for battlefield intelligence, to AI optimizing renewable energy supply chains, to businesses relying on advanced BI for strategy and cyber defense, our increasing reliance on data for efficiency, for growth, it also creates new vulnerabilities. It makes robust cybersecurity, informed data governance absolutely paramount. For your organization, for your personal information, it's that double-edged sword, underscoring the need for adaptability, for informed strategy.
It really is clear then, in 2025, whether you're looking at global power shifts, the clean energy push, the future of business, the ability to rapidly process information and respond intelligently is just paramount. It really is about agility in this age of acceleration.
Couldn't agree more.
So here's something to think about, maybe for your own field. Consider how the very technologies driving all this efficiency and progress, AI, interconnected data systems, also create entirely new ways to be vulnerable, new arenas for competition. It demands an equally agile, integrated approach to security, to strategy. For instance, how might that race to fill the resource gap in clean energy we talked about? How might that create unexpected strategic alliances, or maybe even fierce rivalries, as nations and companies scramble not just for the resources, but for the technological edge, the know-how to capture and use that knowledge? Something to chew on.